Give us a little bit about how Christianity and Islam in regards to Noahide laws.
The Jews believe that Christianity through James was a commandment given to Paul to convert Gentiles into Noahides, and that James instructed Paul that Gentiles were to follow these prescriptions that were given to Noah and even to Adam, to kill animals in humane ways and to obey, to have just laws and to worship the one God. And that Christians are Noahides, which essentially makes them the slaves of Jews. And then they go around destroying their own pagan gods, which destroys all the supernatural protection that the Gentiles have. And in effect, what they're doing is they are destroying their own guardian angels, the 70 princes in heaven. And as above, so below. If the jealous God of the Jews can kill off the 70 princes in heaven, then the Jews, who are the divine manifestation on earth, will have an easy time killing off the 70 nations of the Gentiles on earth, because they will have no divine protection, no guardian angels. So by converting the 70 Gentile nations to Christianity, what they have really done is they have eliminated and killed off their 70 guardian angels. So Gentiles are now unprotected by supernatural forces, and the Jews therefore have an easy time manipulating Gentiles and exterminating Gentiles. So many of the things that they are doing is to eliminate the supernatural protection that Gentiles have, so that they can both satisfy the demands of their jealous God, so that no gods in the heavens are worshipped and then those gods perish. And likewise, Gentiles on earth will perish because they will no longer have the guardian angels and their pagan gods to defend them in the heavens. Peoples would believe that their gods would protect them in times of war, and that when one nation conquered another nation, that nation would boast that its gods were superior, because its gods enabled them to defeat the gods of the other nations, and that there would be heavenly battles between the gods just as there were earthly battles between peoples. And so the Jews are waging both the heavenly, and as above so below, both the heavenly battles and the earthly battles by converting Gentiles to Islam and Christianity.
I know that whatever happened as a consequence of the origination and the promotion of the Christian story was powerful enough to bring Rome to its knees and demolish the pagan enterprise.
When Paul addresses his believers as Gentiles, he uses, here you go, you're going to get the answer actually right now. He uses the biblical prophecies about the coming of the Gentiles, the nations, to Jerusalem in the last days, and he applies them to the believers in him when he is addressing them. From now on, they are the Gentile to whom Jeremiah was appointed to be a prophet, Jeremiah 1:5. And they are the Gentile from whom God will take priest and Levi, according to the end of the book of Isaiah. Isaiah 66:21, he said, I'm going to take a Gentile to become a priest and a Levite. There is no New Testament. The only thing that Paul has in his hand is Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, and Moses. And he says, wait a second, I am reading something else in the Bible. My Bible says that the Gentiles will come up to Jerusalem. My Bible says that the Gentiles are going to become priests and Levites. Maybe this is the Gentiles that we as Jews need to raise. This is huge. Everything that Paul is doing he's doing based on one thing, and this is something that the rabbis and the scholars saying again and again. Paul believes without a shadow of a doubt that he is living in the generation of what's called the Acharit Hayamim, the last days, the end times. So he said, what's he saying? If I live in the last days, and if I live in the end times, and here's the prophecies of Jeremiah and Isaiah and Ezekiel, and Zechariah, that he said the 10 Gentiles will grab the tzitzit of the Jew. Shouldn't we prepare the Gentiles to this? Shouldn't we get the Gentiles ready for those days? They're worshiping Zeus right now. They're eating blood. They're having sexual immoral relationship. What I'm reading in the Bible and what is happening in the Gentile world, they do not match. So he said, we got to move forward with the Gentiles to get them ready, to get them prepared. Okay? This is how the non-Jew integrate into the story of redemption. Listen to this. This is incredible. Without breaking through its framework. What is the framework? Judaism. Paul is not stupid. He understands that there is a system that is called Judaism. You want to tell me that you can take somebody who is an idol worshiper, a pagan, Zeus lover, and you can put him under the Torah? Get out of here. Paul understood something that most of us don't understand today. You cannot take a little baby, right? Your little baby. I cannot take a little baby and say to the baby, right, baby Rachel, right? And I can say, baby Rachel, run. She cannot even crawl. How can you make her run? It's impossible. And Paul understands that, friends. So we said, we're not going to make the Gentile run. We make the Gentile crawl. But as they crawl, we're going to make the door so big, so open, and so wide that they will be able to crawl through this door. You follow what I'm telling you? And this door have a name. The door have a name. It's the biggest covenant that God has given. You know, each covenant is like a big door, and then the next covenant is a smaller door, and the next covenant is the smaller door, and the smaller and the smaller. That's the way you think about covenants. God gave a universal covenant to Noah, 7 mitzvot b'nim. And you think about those things, well, wow, those things are kind of lame today. 2,000 years ago, abstaining from eating blood, avodah zarah, idol worship, immorality, those things were a huge thing. So rather than Paul then said to them, you must be circumcised, he said, no, let's make them crawl through the main door. Some people understood it and say, no, Paul was against them going through the little door. No, he was not. But he wanted to make sure that they can go through the main door. You know why? Because Paul understood something foundational, that there is no salvation to his own people unless there are Gentiles who are willing to come up and join Israel. That is the truth of the scripture, brothers and sisters. With no Gentile, there is no salvation to Jewish people. In a second, you're going to see what Judaism says about that. Paul understood it. And he said, I'm living in the end time, I'm seeing the Gentile here, and I read it, Isaiah here. We have to do something about this. So rather than breaking the framework they call Judaism, listen to what it says. From this point on, even before Paul can tell the Gentile believer of Christ that they were the elect, he has to tell them that they are Gentiles. He had to convert them to the Jewish people. You see, Paul started the conversion process of the Gentiles. Shaul believed in the Bible. He believed in the prophet of Israel. He had an encounter with Yeshua. Therefore, he looked at all the prophecies of the last days. You have to understand what Shaul is doing. He is looking for the prophecies in the last days. And what Shaul see in the prophecies of the last days. And again, you can do it yourself. Go to Isaiah. Go to Jeremiah. Go to Ezekiel. Go to the prophets, the minor prophets of Israel. Many of the prophets of Israel spoke about the Gentiles. So Paul says, wait a second, I just have an experience with Yeshua. There's all those promises. I want to hasten his coming. I want to hasten his coming. For the sake of my people. For the love of my people. That's why he says in Romans 11, all of those things is for the Israel to be saved. The only thing in the mind of Shaul is to see the salvation of the Jewish people. So the things that sometimes appears like he's against Judaism, he is against the Jews. No! He's doing those things because his love for the Jewish people. On the contrary, because the Jewish people need an aid, and the aid that the Jewish people need are the Gentiles. But he said there are no Gentiles around us because there are all pagans around me. That's why he's writing to Rome. People he never met. Because he wants to make sure that the Gentiles can become real Gentiles. So we create a new category of Gentiles. And you know what it is? I'm going to call it what it is. Jewish light. Jewish light, that's what it is. Pre-convert. Because Judaism actually believed that everybody will be Jewish in the last day, even the Gentiles. Messiah will convert them. He will convert all of us. In that day the Lord will be one and his name will be one. Zephaniah chapter 3 says, nobody speak English, Spanish, Italian, French, or German, or Dutch. We all speak Hebrew. You know that. What do you think? Shaul doesn't understand those things? He understands everything. So we believe the final conversion will be with Messiah himself. He said, my job is to prepare them. Now think about what Shaul is dealing with. He's dealing with Gentiles with the Jewish definition. Foreigners. They love Zeus. They love Zeus. He said, I have a lot of work. Let's get him to the Noachite law. Was Paul a Noachite? Yes, he was. That was his starting point. It is written in Hasidic Judaism that until the spark of the Gentiles will be awakened to unify themselves with the Torah and the Jewish people, if the heavenly emissarial calling of bringing the light of the Torah to the world is delayed, the redemption is delayed. If the Gentiles are not in their fullness and being awakened, the redemption of Israel is delayed. Isn't that what Paul is said to us in Romans chapter 11, brothers and sisters? Almost word for word. Judaism is full agreement with him. That's why this rabbi started a commission. He said, every Gentile on the face of the universe have to learn immediately the 7 mitzvot Bnei Noach and immediately prepare them for the conversion that will happen by King Messiah. Signed. This is what Paul was doing, brothers and sisters.